Hey, welcome to another typology interview. We have Megan Levota. How's it going?
Hi there. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice
Going
to meet you
good.
too. Yeah. So really awesome to have you. Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to be
So
here.
yeah, I don't know if you've really gone into the history of your channel and stuff on your channel, but it'd be nice if you just let
No.
us know how you started off in typology and
Yeah.
started off in YouTube and yeah.
Yeah. So I got interested in personality type in about 2012, and I get very obsessive about things once I'm interested in it. And I pretty much have been obsessed with it ever since. I lurked around on like Personality Cafe and Facebook groups and lots of stuff like that for a while. I started to get comfortable sharing a few things, and then my best friend uh that I met in college got interested in it as well, which kind of took my interest to a new level, to where we just were talking about it all the time,
Right.
to where I would watch YouTube videos of other types, and I didn't see that many ENFJ examples. So my main reason why I even made a video was to post it in the Facebook groups, to sort of show like, hey guys, I'm just an example of an ENFJ, and here's some things I know.
Right.
And I learned well from observing examples of other types, and
Yeah.
so that was honestly my main motivator. It's kind of turned into other things now
Right. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
I've seen the community grow, and I'm interested in helping people not just know their type, but know what to do with it and how to grow with it, and not look at the definitions too literally, to the sense where they keep themselves like shut down. Like, for example, if I were to look at the functions on a surface level and say FE cares about other people and not themselves or something,
Yeah. Right.
I don't want to have that limit me. So I'm interested in being a part of the conversation of using typology to help people become the best version of themselves, and not use it to trap themselves.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I noticed like way back you started out with series what I learned from
Mm.
talking to ENFJs, what I learned from talking to ENTPs, that sort of stuff. So
Hmm.
so like you really went around and like, or you just look back on your life and you saw everyone that was an ENTP in your life and what you learned from that, or how did you sort of like get such a huge data set to be able to?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of just the way I live my life is I'm very all or nothing with people, where I want to really know who they are when I'm talking to them.
Right.
And I sort of am the person where a lot of people come to cry to. And,
Yeah.
you know, that gives you a lot of information.
Yeah.
So I feel like a what am I trying to say? One good thing about, or what what am I trying to say? Opportunity? Whatever. You get
Yeah.
the idea. That I have is that I feel like I have several examples of close friends or family of each type
Right.
in
Yeah.
my
Right.
in my database that have cried to me. So the reason why I made that video was sort of like, whenever I'm trying to get through my life and the typical FE response isn't working, or is creating a problem, sometimes I
Mhm.
like to think like, what would so and so say about this? Or, like I think
Yeah.
of advice that people have told me. And so I don't know. I guess I wanted to give the experience of like what the essence of this type is. I don't know
Yeah, for me, like
how I
watching it,
think of it.
it's like when you watch someone talk about something, you wanna know like where do they have the authority to talk about this? Where did they get their information? And it's
Okay.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and when I saw you talking about it like way back when I first saw your
Uh
channel,
huh.
I saw okay, well she's got authority because she's actually met people and she has people in her life
Hmm.
and yeah, so it was really cool to like actually see that and
Interesting.
yeah, and so I think I think I have the same sort of thing of having that SE, in my life, where
Yeah.
it's like I want to get the data set from reality and not like read it in a
Yeah.
book and sort of tell
Yeah.
people it's from the book. Yeah,
That's so true, because I think, yeah, and I don't really think about, am I seeming like an authority? Do I have the right to
right,
say, like,
exactly.
I wasn't even thinking about that at all. Like, I was just sharing my perspective, but I
Yes,
do I do like tend to trust like the wisdom I get from my interactions with people more so than what I've read.
exactly. Yeah,
Um Yeah.
Yeah, because it's coming straight from SE reality, right? So
Yeah. It's like engaging with the FE and SE. When you do that, then you can get sort of this NI underneath.
right. Yeah.
But
Awesome. And so then you also do typing services and you do life coaching as well
yes.
on your channel,
Yes.
or as a
And
side service?
yeah. And so the typing thing sort of came from, I enjoy helping people find their type. I enjoy sharing resources and what I've learned from what I've read and everything. But I started to get too many people that I was helping for free. So the thing is, for me, is it's really hard for me to be like, because I don't have like a system
Right.
yet. I mean, everything that I do is based off of Carl Jung's cognitive functions. I try and go to the root of like what he originally said first, and then sort of
Right. To sort of guide you in the
ideas.
direction of what this is, and then you learn it from interacting with
Yeah,
people.
because personally, I think like MBTI, socionics, objective personality, I think that they are all interpretations, and even Carl Jung, they're all interpretations of the same essence, is that there are
Yeah.
8 cognitive functions. And so I am just offering my interpretation. But what I think is kind of ENFJ of me is that while I'm out there trying to serve the tribe, I realize, oh wait, I can't do this for free. So that's sort of like how
Yeah.
it started, but it's very much, it feels like a work in progress. Like I don't trust, um, not that I don't trust the logic behind it, but for me, it's like, I very much feel like this is just the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
That
Right.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. For sure. Awesome. Yeah.
But yeah.
And so then you have people that that are doing life coaching things with you too,
Hmm.
guiding them based on the type
Yeah.
that you type them, or confirm their
Yes.
type, and then you're sort of helping them deal with
Yes.
their cognitive functions, the ones they're having more difficulty in, and to be more balanced.
Yes.
Right.
And the goal with that is to help people really understand how to use their strengths and how to maximize them and be aware of their weaknesses so that they can sort of go around them or find solutions to integrate them.
Hmm.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with Carl Jung's individuation process of like shining a light on the shadow and all that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I saw
mhm.
that video with auto alchemy that you did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, cool.
Um, so okay, awesome. So then you were also then typed by Dave and Chen, and you agree, sort of like, what's not typed, but like
So
sort of like types. I
I
don't
was
know.
not officially typed by
Right.
them. I was told by Dave what he thinks my type is.
Right. Exactly. There you go.
So, and I know that Shannon believes I'm an ENFJ. I've spoken with her, but that was,
Right.
so I actually met them. I posted a video in like 2015 that was about EJs, IJs, EPs, and IPs, and Dave reached out to me and was like, "Hey, this is exactly what I'm seeing. Like, we should
Oh
talk."
yeah. Nice.
So, I mean, I got that idea. I mean, I read that from Lenore Thompson's personality uh, typology manual or whatever the book's called. And so I just was sharing some of my observations on top of looking at type in that way. And I've always like sort of seen the temperaments that way. So anyway, they have been, I mostly had talked to Dave, but I did call Shannon a couple times. They were sort of mentors encouraging me to share more videos.
Awesome.
And I know they know I'm an ENFJ, and like Dave said that he believes I'm MM, which I, after looking into the system, I definitely agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm blast first, but other than that,
Right.
I've had a few people that were into the OP system tell me different things. So
Right.
I'm open to the rest of that.
Yeah. So like, your modalities, and then your animals, you're sort of still
Yeah.
trying to work out.
And I think Dave guessed, which, he was very much like, unless Shannon and I both typed you, I can't just say, but I believe he said that I was blast, play, sleep, consume.
There you go. Okay. Cool.
But yeah.
So yeah, we'll dive into that a little bit. So
Cool.
like, when I ask people in the interviews, like I generally try to ask people, like when I ask you about FE, for example, I'm not going to ask you what is FE. I'm going to ask you how FE is for you, how it plays out
Okay.
in your life. Yeah. So like maybe you can tell
Perfect.
us a little bit about how FE plays out for you and
Hmm.
how you relate to it personally, and maybe like put in the masculine flavor if
Hmm.
you know how to do that.
Yeah. Hmm. So, okay, ever since I was a kid, I especially as a kid and in my teens, I needed there to be a sleepover every night. I needed to make friends. Like if there was a new girl in school, I would befriend them that day.
Wow.
Didn't want anyone to feel like they were alone. And so there were definitely times, the biggest, I guess, arguments or upsets through childhood would be if my mom said someone couldn't come over, or if somebody said no, everyone was busy. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I,
Wow.
especially in high school, I would be like, this isn't fair. I'd yell and scream. I threw lots of temper tantrums. I mean, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, it also very much manifested in me from a very young age. I used to get very emotional and cry about movies about best friends or twins, or I wish I had a twin, or I wanted a boyfriend, or I just needed partnership. It was very much girl, you gotta sit still
Mm-hmm.
and be okay with yourself. And actually, I had lunch with an INFP friend from high school who we were joking about the time that I got in a big argument with her in high school, where I told her, I was like, nobody will ever love me. That's just true. And she was
Wow.
like, that's not true. I was being so ridiculous. But I was like,
Yeah.
well, there's no evidence to show up into this point. So I don't know. I was always sort of like that. And so it actually was, in high school or whenever I was graduating high school and everything was changing. A lot of my friends were going to different colleges where that whole summer, I was like, well, damn, I am not going to have these friends. I need to figure out how to be happy. And I just got super into personality and self-help stuff. And honestly, recognizing that it's hard for me to even see, because my FE has obviously changed a lot since then, where now it's a lot more um, I'm not going to believe something's true unless I've considered the perspectives and needs of everyone. It takes a
Mm-hmm.
long time for me to refine my opinion, and I am interested in figuring out what my opinion is, but I'm more so interested in thinking about how other people feel about things. And to an extreme dramatic extent, I don't really feel like there's any reason to be on Earth unless I'm making it better, because I personally don't think that it's working very well for the people.
Yeah.
So it's just part of, I can
Cool.
go on, but
Yeah, yeah.
long
So,
enough.
you sort of described your need for connection. Do you also feel
Yeah.
like you have that need for maybe even validation for people to tell you that you're doing a good job?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the way that I see that is, um, I want to be both affirmed or criticized so that I know, am I getting hotter? Am I getting colder? I need some sort of feedback,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to just go in blind and do whatever I want or whatever I think. And so it's not so much that I need my ego stroked, although that could be true
I
for,
see. Yeah.
it's more I don't even know if this is the right way to go unless it's,
Because you want to keep everyone happy. You want everyone to be,
yeah.
and you need that feedback, that ping back to know if you're doing
Hmm.
the right thing for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Awesome.
criticism is just as important, because especially with people I'm really close to, I expect them to call me out if I'm in the wrong,
Mhm.
because if they don't, then I'm going to assume that it's fine.
Is that something that was naturally true for you, or is that something that you learned to
No,
do?
I think that was probably naturally true. And I think even as I was younger, my FE would sort of be like, you're making me mad or something. I would express that as well. So I also would express or expect people to tell me if I was hurting them, because I never mean to.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So that's interesting too, because if they didn't tell you, then it's sort of worse, because you don't
yeah,
know. Yeah. Because you could be causing them pain, and that's the opposite of what
yeah,
you want. Right. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And how do you see it expressed as masculine? How do you see it as
Hmm.
as pushing against people? Are you able to push people to do what they want, or to do what you want, or um, maybe
Yeah,
your own good sort of thing?
I think especially that could be expressed in form of like political activism,
Okay.
fighting for social justice, being the person that's like, guys, this is not okay, and we need to stop acting like it's okay. Like I, ever since I was like 14, I used to, I don't know, or like especially like in college, I would be like, you have to vote, like be a citizen. Like I would
Right.
say things like that, and
Uh-huh.
like, but in another sense, like for example, my same INFP friend I mentioned, when we were in high school, she, we did community theater together, but she was nervous to audition for the play, and I was like, you're auditioning, like you want to do it. Like I could be very encouraging as well. Like,
Right. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. And so, like, do you feel the way that you want criticism from others is like that's sort of what you're doing too, when you're pushing?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, even like, I mean, I like to be told like, hey, like get over yourself. you know like you know
Right.
because I don't like to get stuck in like the fi of like how I feel. So like if I'm ever like, I don't know, if I'm
If you're ever
being
stuck in an
delusional, tell
emotional
me.
moment or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I really appreciate like ISTPs, because I'm just like, tell me, like if I'm broken, fix me. Like
Okay, I
tell me
see.
like what I'm doing you know
Right.
but
Interesting.
yeah.
Um, okay, so that's cool. I think we sort of covered FE. So then your next
hmm
function is going to be your NI,
hmm
and that's going to be feminine. So like, do you see that play out in your life? Is that something that's
mm.
really dominating what goes on in your life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I it's hard to even describe, but I'm very, very metaphysical and spiritual, and I don't even really share even the half of it on my channel.
Oh
Like,
wow. Okay. Yeah.
I am very um, having like a constant conversation with my higher self of like, I don't know, not to be stereotypical about like the psychicness or whatever, but every single move I make, it's like if it does not feel aligned, like it's not the thing to do. I won't
Hmm.
like. I want to wait for the right moment as well. Like, I don't like to push things. I like to sort of know what to expect before I take an action.
Right.
Like for example, like currently I'm working on a digital marketing business with my ENFJ friend, and she's done graphic design and I've done like copy and like social media, and we're putting our forces together. But even the way that we're doing our business, we'll like meditate on it and be like, yeah, this is it. And then like that's we'll just like trust, like I don't know if that's like a good example. I always
Yeah.
have a hard time explaining like my NI in action, but like people that are close to me and around me for a long time, it's obvious. But
Right. Do you see like you're always planning for the future? Like, is that something that you're always
mm-hmm.
thinking about? What's going to happen in the next 5 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very see, I'm very one step ahead. Like even in this conversation, like I'm like, it's hard for me to be fully present because sometimes I'm still thinking about what I'm gonna do after this. Like,
Right.
and not that I'm not engaged, but and actually, what's really hard for me right now is that I don't know what next year is going to look like, and that's causing me a
Wow.
lot of stress.
Stress. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I do like to know.
Yeah. Um, what about when you do make a plan? Is that liable to change? Is it something that you feel just loose, or it's just a general plan, or it's like a really solid structured plan? How does that work out?
It's very general. I know my purpose. Like I know that I'm here to um I like to help people express themselves and align with their vision and move that along and help them like push them into their destiny. I have no clue how that's going to look. I just like I'm
Right.
totally cool with just like knowing who I'm here for and like my purpose. And when the situation happens, then I like will know in the moment of like I don't know if that makes sense. where I'm
Mm-hmm.
going with that.
Yeah. What about in terms of sort of seeing everything as interconnected, everything as like having one source to it all? Is that something?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm into things like sacred geometry and like oneness and
Uh-huh.
like there's all like whatever essence is behind everything. Like that's what I'm always trying to focus
Right.
on.
Yeah. Yeah, I described it like a while back in an interview with Otim. He's a lead NI, and I asked him if this is what he thought, because this is sort of what I was thinking for my NI as well. Is that it's like everything is really all exactly the same, and it's all one. It's just you just have to sort of get to that point, like, because we're in a world where everything's sort of divided. But once you start like seeing the similarities between things, you can like pull it back. It's like a tree basically, where everything sort of connects. Looks like it's all these branches, but then because of these branches, it's going to connect further back, and it's going to keep connecting. Like, is that sort of like the feeling you have with your NI as
Yeah,
well? That everything is
absolutely.
branching out from one source?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so something that I believe that I think is maybe connected to this is that I think that love is the energy behind all things, and that love is to take something as a part of yourself, and that is oneness. And so this is, I guess, sort of how my FE and NI is, but like every time I notice like a dissonance between me and something, then I like want to know why is that, and also is there a way that I can tune into like the common thread between us and build a bridge to bring back to that point of oneness.
Right. And so you're seeing also like a oneness between people in your NI as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I see.
And
That's really
like
interesting.
all things, but yeah, especially people.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then so like together those two functions make blast, I guess. Do you see that? Do you see that your blast is those two functions working together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, like I would imagine that, okay, like for me, if I'm like if I'm reading Carl Jung's psychological types, I'll like read one sentence and then my mind will just be blown and I'll just feel it, and then I'll like text 10 friends with like an idea I have.
Right.
And I think that's why I make a lot of videos. I'm on Twitter a lot.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like because certain things they click to my NI and I just like need to share it, but like that doesn't mean that I understand all the TI yet. But yeah.
And so like, do you feel like you have that need to just get started, to just go and do all the time as well? Like you don't have a problem getting started on a new project or on a new...
Yeah. I think that I at least need to express the idea, even if it's not like, as long as I'm moving in the right direction.
And do you feel like solving problems is more like just trial and error until you figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for example, with this business that I'm working on with my ENFJ friend, we both know exactly what our vision and our mission is,
right,
but we don't know the logistics yet. But our strategy is that we're going to know once we start.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so then from there you go to SE as your third function.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's masculine. So I guess like, do you see yourself as even having like a really good memory as well for details?
Honestly, not real. Okay. It's hard. I don't consider myself detail oriented at all. And it seems like everybody has a different perspective of what that means when they say that.
Yeah.
I do catch myself in little arguments where it's like, you left the cabinet open, or you did this, or
Right.
no, I got in an argument about like how much money was left on this laundry card, and I would like yell like, I actually know that there was $2 left, or
right. Yeah.
like things like that. Like
you would argue from the details. Yeah.
Or like I've gotten in this argument too with friends where I like won't want to repeat myself if we're like texting, and I'll just be like, scroll up.
Scroll
Or
up.
they'll say, you didn't say that. They'll say, you didn't say that. And I'll be like, yeah, scroll up.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How do you see SE play out in your life other than that sort of thing?
For me, I see it as momentum that can, if I use it, then it can help me get where my NI wants to go. And if I sleep on it, then I won't, I don't know. It's like something I can use to I don't know. I'm always focused on how can I not compromise the quality of the end product while also making sure that like great isn't the enemy of good. Like I can like push myself to do something, even if, you know, I'm probably still going to like do a few rounds of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, how do you feel like reality sort of governs the way you think, or it governs the way you feel, or like what's this like this present basis of reality? How does it structure your opinions? Like, do you even believe in reality? Is that something that's...
I think that reality is that we are all co-creating reality, or we're all co-creating reality. We all have our own perspective of reality, and then we're sort of all projecting our perspectives onto reality, and reality is just the total of everything else that everyone's projecting. And so there is just one reality, but there are millions of different perspectives, and so you can't really understand reality unless you understand all the perspectives.
I see. Yeah. Because I guess the perspectives are also present within reality, so it's also part of reality.
Yeah, and some of those perspectives might not actually be literally aligned with what you see, but if it's not taken into consideration, it'll become real. It'll have real impacts.
Do you see yourself able to balance between your NI and SE as well in your life? Like sort of being able to predict what will happen and then it does happen, or like sort of modify your plan based on what's happening. Like not get too stressed out if things are going awry. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm dating an INFJ, and it's
Okay,
very
so
obvious.
Extremes.
Yeah, it's very obvious because there'll be temper tantrums because I didn't do all my dishes today and I said I was going to do my dishes, and I'm like, well, just do them tomorrow. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, that sort of thing. Or go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
I would just say, you know, you can't, it's never going to work how it looks in your head. And it's good to have a lofty goal, because if you don't, then you aren't dreaming big enough and you're going to just go with what seems normal. But in my opinion, like the lofty goal of NI is not, it's not supposed to be exact. Like it will happen. And that's like the beauty of it, is that it's going to happen as it wants to happen. Like, I don't know.
And accepting that. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
What about, okay, so then like your second animal is supposed to be play. And that's with the SE and the FE. Do you see yourself sort of getting feedback from people a lot, trying to do that ping off of people before you sort of, I guess that would be also the main way you would gather information as well.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah. And let me know if this sounds like play, like correct me if I'm wrong, but like I know the first thing I think of when I think of play is that I, was always in theater and speech and debate, and I did improv, and I was just bouncing off of each other. And I think that I know a few play ENFJs that I did improv with, because I would relate to them, and I knew that they were ENFJs, but they seem to not really, like, they seem to find me too intense. Like they were okay with just being jokey the whole time. And if I like asked them a deep question, it would be sort of like, oh, I don't want to talk about that right now. But anyway, so I associate play during the times whenever I am being just really goofy and teasing people and like getting a rise out of them on purpose, which I do, but only when I feel comfortable, which it hasn't been as often in my adult life. Like I'm kind of having a hard time lately just going with things. But another thing that might be play is that there are a few people that I will message frequently, like about typology, or we're just bouncing ideas around.
Right.
So I don't know if that's me blasting things to them or if it's also play.
That's also
Or
play. Yeah. That's just to gather
yeah,
information with the tribe, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And what about expending energy for the tribe, or expending energy for others, or that sort of thing? Is that something that you feel responsible to do? Like if someone needs you to expend energy, you'll just go and do it?
Can you give me an example, perhaps? Or I'm trying to think.
Like
Like,
someone, yes, like someone's in distress or something. Will you feel responsible to go and expend your energy to do that? Like, do you also use your energy more like in the beginning of the day and you just get burned out by the end, or are you
hmm,
focused on your energy as well during the day? Is like that's sort of like a main concern of
I
yours?
definitely get burned out at the end. I'm not that focused. I do get pretty resentful though if people expect me to do that.
Right.
Like, for example, like my mom is an ESFJ, and like ever since I moved out, like or they live in like the suburbs, so I live like 30 minutes away, but she'll sometimes just message me like, "Hey, we're doing this, like come over for dinner." And like I get upset cuz I'm like, "You should have told me beforehand,
Right.
because now I don't really have the energy to do that for you." But
Uh-huh.
I feel like bad cuz I don't want to let her down, but I really would prefer if people would tell
Right.
me what they want from me so I can plan around it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds a little bit too of that sort of reality coming in and disrupting your NI plan as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I wake up one day and already have it in my mind that I want to get a lot of work done,
Hmm.
then I'm not going to really want to give myself a break or like do something fun. But
Right.
if I wake up and I am like, I could do anything today, then I don't really mind if people interrupt and invite me to do things.
Yeah. I get that. And like, what if they did plan it beforehand, sort of thing? Like, because like play
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be in the moment, right? But it could be planned play, like
Mm.
you saying, okay, I will expend energy for you in the future. Like, do you feel responsible to
Yeah,
go and do that expended? Yeah.
I do to some extent. The main thing I can say is that I don't do this as much as I used to. And I don't know if that's just my circumstance or
Hmm.
what, but I do always feel good afterwards. I mean, like this weekend I got a ticket to a music festival that was like in town. It was just a small one. And I really only wanted to go on Friday, but I thought, like I have tickets, I might as well go Saturday too. But then I like got too tired and I didn't want to do it.
Right.
But like that Friday, I ended up going meeting some of my partner's friends, and one of them was like, "Let's go out to a bar after." And internally, I was sort of like, I only planned for the concert." But then I was like, I don't do this enough. I'll just like force myself to. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
play,
That does.
but
Yeah. Okay, and then so like then you go to sleep from there. We didn't really talk about TI
Mhm.
yet, but maybe we can talk about sleep a little bit first. Um,
Mhm.
do you feel like you need to ping off the tribe before you have permission to go and introspect on something? Like you don't, or that's not really an issue?
Um, Not really. I mean,
No.
I don't know, like I have some really weird beliefs like that I like don't tell anyone. I
Right.
mean, I will like have a dream and then like I'll totally read into it and think that was my past life or something, and like
Hmm.
I won't like need to really talk to anyone. I'll just like process it in the
Hmm.
background. I don't know.
So, like, would you think that maybe also on things that you do feel comfortable talking with the tribe about, would you go and talk with them first, or would you rather introspect before you did that?
Hmm, that's tough.
Yeah.
And I'm caught between these because I feel like I don't. Okay, so actually here's a good example is that when I first got into typology, I lurked for like 3 years. I didn't feel like I knew enough to say anything. Like
Mm,
I wasn't like, "Hey guys, what do you think of it?" Like I wasn't like asking questions. Like I wanted to like understand the cognitive functions before I threw anything around.
right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that's something with lead like extroverted deciders, like extroverted judging functions, is that
Mm-hmm.
they sort of like need the permission from the tribe sometimes to go and do things. Do you feel like that's sort of what that was happening there?
Hmm. Yeah, I think what was probably happening there is that I didn't want to be wrong and
Right.
I
Okay.
didn't want to spread misinformation.
Hmm.
And I actually would kind of resent certain people that um, learned about type last week and then were like acting like experts.
Yeah.
Like that kind of bothers me. Um, and but then again, I'm not very upfront about the research I do or about the thinking I do,
Right.
like myself. But it's there. Like, I mean, for example, my videos, I'll like say something in a video and I had the idea 5 months ago,
Yeah.
but I only just then felt ready. And
Right.
I'm thinking of things that I'm probably going to share next year. I don't know, like it takes a while.
That's really interesting that you say that, because like that's sort of like
Yeah.
like there's this whole misconception, I think, where people think that people who have blast first, they'll just go and blast without being ready first.
Yeah.
And this just goes sort of against that misconception that like, yeah.
Yeah. I think it does seem that way for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can totally see why people could think that of me because it's not like I'm sharing the TI. Like I'm really not sharing my TI. Like
Okay.
I try to, but I will like sort of say my conclusion, I think, and then not really share like the premises that I believe or all the time I took unpacking them and like why I believe that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Do you see yourself going over that information, like digesting it over and over again before you actually are ready to go and talk or communicate about
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
I mean, I I recently uploaded like I'm working on a series of like what is the cognitive functions and
Yeah.
it's actually stressing me out like because I don't want to miss anything.
Right.
Like I'm worried well like I'm still like worried about the tribe in the FE way is that I don't want to say something and then someone comment and say that doesn't fit my experience,
Uh-huh.
you know, and also it's so complex to me. Like I think my NI sees how complex it is that it's impossible to really encapsulate it in a short video,
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
even though people
Yeah.
try. Like
Yeah.
every time people try, it's like there's still a piece missing, and so I don't know
And even if
where
there
that comes from.
isn't a piece missing, like it NI first slot is very different from NI third slot, for example,
Yeah.
just the
So
way
I
it
don't
functions.
know. Like I don't know. I don't know how I'd answer that.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so let's talk about your TI a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
are you aware that it's sort of like it's something that you're more, or you were aware that it was missing?
Yeah.
You're working on it now. You're getting better with it now, or how does
Yeah.
that?
Like even though I feel like okay, like it's kind of like my TI is vulnerable, and that's why I might not share certain things.
Right.
Like I don't, my TI doesn't feel ready.
Uh-huh.
Um, Actually, that's a good distinction. Is that I think blasting with FE is so easy, but like sharing my thoughts sometimes, you know,
Right.
is the
I see.
hard part that I take forever on.
Right.
Um,
So sharing values and talking about values and saying you shouldn't do that or that sort of thing, that's not difficult. But
yeah, like it's easy for me. It was always easy for me to tell people that I like them. Like
right.
that was not ever anything that was scary for me. Or
Hmm.
like just complimenting people. They just flow out. So, but yeah, my TI like hmm, it scares me that n- having an opinion it's going to inevitably piss people off. And so I see all the ways that it could. And so I don't know. It's like I don't
Yeah.
want to make enemies if that's not necessary,
Right.
or I don't want to share it and then it be misunderstood and then me just feel sad and like worse.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. So like that's definitely something that I've been noticing in my life, that
Yeah.
like your TI is just gonna really piss people off all the time.
Yeah.
It's always like, for me, it's always like, okay, I gotta hold back, just smile and nod.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Right.
And I think, yeah, there's just like a lot of insecurity there. So, okay, like for example, I am working on a master's in organizational psychology right now. And one of the classes I have to take is data analysis. And we're using R, which is a software uh, uh, programming language
Okay.
where it's extremely TI heavy. And I feel like I have to study twice as long as certain people. Like,
Right.
it's just really hard. Like, it'll say there's all these different components of like, this is a function and this is a, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever. But I have to remember it, and like I don't just store it in my head. Like every single time that I have to do something on there, I'll like have to look it up. And I think
Okay. Yeah.
part of that is like my bad SI, but like I don't think that I very easily track like the algorithm of like, oh, okay, and so this is how you do the probability in statistics, and this is how you do the like, compare things.
Hmm.
Um, and I think part of that is because sometimes if a professor doesn't really focus on the why or like tell me the value, I will like do my own research on that before I am even motivated to remember things. I don't
Yeah.
know.
What about contradictions? Do those sort of sting when you get a contradiction? Are you aware of them? Do you speak up about
Yeah.
them? Yeah.
Hmm. So I feel like I don't like when people are being hypocritical when they are from like a character standpoint. But I think one thing about my TI being sort of weaker, which I think could be a good thing, but I feel like I'm aware that there are going to be contradictions and that like reality is full of paradoxes, and like I'm kind of okay with putting things that seem contradictory together.
Right.
Um
You don't feel
I will
responsible to resolve the contradictions either. You can just let them be.
yeah, I can
Uh,
just yeah. Um I think that one way that my TI comes out is that I really like want to critically think about things, and I don't accept facts just because they're said. I don't look to authority
right.
for any knowledge um really at all.
Hmm.
Um I'm okay with not knowing. Like if I was supposed to know, I would know.
Yeah.
Like I think certain people, perhaps TE users, it seems like they're okay with changing their thought, but they kind of use this sort of common knowledge TE as like a placeholder, and unless it stops working. I feel like I
Yeah.
don't need any sort of placeholder. Like I don't need to know everything.
Yep. So this is something that I don't know if it's real or not, but this is where like Dave and Shan sort of say this, that
Hmm.
people who don't care as much about knowing, and they're really easy say I don't know sort of thing.
Yeah,
They're people who have sensing third or fourth,
interesting. Yeah.
and people who say I don't understand a lot. There are people that have intuition third or fourth.
Ah,
And so
that's actually so
yeah,
true.
right.
Yeah.
And so you saying like I don't have a problem not knowing it, like from their perspective, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is sort of like
Yeah.
what they were picking up on.
Yeah, that's true. And like I've always said too that like I don't know unless I know. Like if I know, I can be kind of forceful about it, or
Yeah.
at least want it to be considered. Um but I'm total like I like completely lay low if I don't know. Like for example,
Right.
I'm very interested in astrology right now, and I am very much just lurking everyone. Like I don't feel like it's my place to say anything unless I have something to say.
Right. Yeah.
But
Interesting. Um, what about your identity? Because like I mean like
mm,
TI in general is
yeah.
is something that sort of lacks identity, because like I noticed that FI sort of have a more solid identity than TI users, and like all of the TI users that I've really talked to all have some sort of identity crisis at some point in their life, whereas FI
Yeah.
users sort of less have that. Um, So I was just
Yeah.
wondering if like, is that something that you're really wavy on as well? Like, your sense of identity?
Yeah. I feel like different parts of myself come out with different people.
Right.
Like some people see me as really funny, some people see me as really caring, some like more intellectual, but it's kind of rare for them to all be together. Like if
Mhm.
I find people that can let me be all of that at once, then like they're just my people. But
Right. Yeah.
and I'm working on trying to find that, but
Hmm.
in general, I'm kind of toggling on and off between being funny and not smart, or being smart, or just being nice, or like yeah, it's really hard to, I don't know. And
Yeah. It's like different personas as well. Is that what it feels like?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is sort of an FE thing, but it's kind of related. Like something that confuses me about people is when people, often FI users, maybe it's like they're trying to decide if they like someone, if they want to be their friend, or like they're trying to decide how they feel about someone.
Hmm.
I feel like I am totally cool with um, toggling up and down up until eternity. Like if someone, okay, if
Right.
that makes
Never
sense.
making a final
Like,
decision on somebody.
yeah,
Right.
like with friends, we grow apart. Sometimes we grow together. But
Yeah.
like I'll notice if I notice something about someone and I don't like it so much, then I'll just like sort of take one little step back. But it doesn't mean that I don't like the other things about them.
Right. I see.
So
Yeah.
I don't have very strong boundaries as far as like what I will and will not accept. I like to be able to maintain a basic level of respect for everyone.
Hmm.
And if I find something that I don't really like about someone, then I will just sort of, yeah, like slowly back away while still maintaining like the good vibes. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Do you feel like you also have sort of like a lack of confidence because of the low TI?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's funny because I literally just watched, I saw that Dave uploaded a video today about an FE savior. I don't even know if
Oh
you had
wow,
time to
I
watch
missed it.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was just like a couple hours ago.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But it was an FE savior that was like, you know, I always thought I was really confident, and like in a way I am, but also in a way I'm not. And I was like, okay, same. Because like I honestly have no clue how confident I am. Like
Right.
people tell me I'm confident,
Well, you come
but
off as confident, but are you confident? That's
yeah,
different
but
things.
it's not
Yeah.
like I'm hiding any insecurity. It's just,
Right.
well, I mean, maybe I am. I mean, I don't know. I'm confident enough or bold enough to do what I do, but I don't know. Like,
Yeah. What about? I'm trying to deal. Let's leave TI for a second and talk about consume maybe.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
do you feel like consume is like really a difficult thing for you to go and do? Is that like a last resort when you actually
So,
have to go and look in the books or watch a video or something like that?
so that's what's interesting is that I do watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Uh-huh.
Depending, like I will watch things. See, that's why I'm not sure if when I'm watching things or reading, if it is my sleep or if it's my consume. And I want to know your thoughts on this, but I will watch things not because I want a new idea, but because I have a theory and I want to know if this aligns with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will go down sort of phases of things. I don't watch just TV. Like I don't really watch like just like a TV show.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like for
Like
fun.
you need to go. You feel like you have a hole in your understanding, and you need to go and
Mhm.
fill that hole with something. So you go
Yes.
and target. Right.
Yeah, very much.
And so do you feel like overwhelmed if people start just putting information on you for no reason? Does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really I don't like not knowing what I'm supposed to do with it, or like or like the purpose of why someone's telling me things.
Right.
I noticed that with my ENFP friend where she'll just sort of give me a play-by-play of a situation or something. And I don't know if that's necessarily consume, or she'll just tell me things. I'm like, what do you want me to do with this information? Like, unless you're like blasting or like telling me something. I don't
Mhm.
know. If there's like a lot going on at once,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this is something that Ben Vasselin said that
Mm-hmm.
I thought was really cool, a really cool insight. Is that he said that
Mm.
people who maybe have an extroverted decider as their savior, maybe they're like the extroverted judging function as their savior, their demon, like their inferior introverted judging function, that decider is actually maybe stronger because you can do it in the comfort of your own home, sort of thing. You can use it in the comfort of your own home. Whereas like someone who's like a lead TI or FI, they can't really do it in
Ah.
the comfort of their own home to strengthen their extroverted judging function. They need to actually go and interact with people, and that's sort of
Mm.
maybe scary. So he said, so do you feel like maybe your TI is better than someone's FE that might be a lead TI or something like that? Do you feel like that's
I think
something?
that could be true, but
Yeah.
another thing is that with feelers and thinkers, just my FE notices, well, what were we socially conditioned to think is valuable? It's thinking. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I went to school, I had to learn algebra. Like, I mean,
Right.
I can't avoid it. Like, I
Yeah.
need to have a skill to stay alive, and I mean, especially like as a woman, like feeling underestimated for my intelligence and certain things has motivated me to make my thinking better so that people don't underestimate me or so that they like me. I
Right.
mean, and I also think the fact that I've known about typology since I was graduating high school, it's almost like I had a clue from
Hmm.
back then. Oh, if I use TI, that people might like me. So like,
Yeah.
that's part of it, but I don't know. I feel like if I were to make a guess on that, I think people with like inferior FE, perhaps you might not realize until like you have the job or whatever. And then you're like, wait a minute, I have no one to share this life with. Or like you don't feel, I don't know, like you might not
Hmm.
realize until after you've done the things you were supposed to do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of hard to get anywhere um, in life. Like, I don't know. By just being charming, like, I don't know, it
Yeah.
helps.
Yeah, for sure. It does help. Um, no, so yeah, definitely I see that like TI or TE, like thinking in general is valued as well in society. Um,
That's a good point though about the introverted thing,
right.
because I will say too that, alone time is still something that I have a hard time with, although I have realized the past year or two that I do enjoy it. Even
Uh-huh.
now, like, why be alone if I can just invite my partner to come over?
Right.
It's um it's really hard to know when to ask for it and when I need it.
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting distinction. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm okay with it now. Like if it were to accidentally happen,
Right.
if they're going out of town this weekend to see family, and part of me I realized was like, oh, thank God. But not
Oh,
because I
wow.
don't want to see them, but it's like, oh, this is giving me the alone time that I need that I would have
Right.
never asked for. you
Right. Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Do you see that like that you're really sort of sacrificing yourself a lot because of that lack of
Yeah.
need for satisfying your own alone time, your own self, your own. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard because I mean, like, as FE's my savior, like that's me. Like it feels like, you know,
Oh,
like
okay.
not that it's not me, but like there's been times I've been overwhelmed about life and I'll be messaging multiple people at once. And then my partner or a friend will be like, well, why don't you just put your phone down? And it's like, well, I'm decompressing right now.
Right.
Like and like, I don't know if it's, I'm lying to myself or like if I need that,
Uh-huh.
even whenever though I am like alone, my alone time is like watching YouTube. So like honestly, a lot of my consume might just be FE like connecting with someone. Like not that that is consume, but I mean like if you were to look at the word consume literally, I think of watching things, but
Right.
um or I'm like messaging people or listening to something. Like it's being alone with silence is very hard for me. Like
Hmm.
being idle is extremely hard.
Really awesome, Megan. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to give over any message
You
maybe about
know,
your type in particular, how to
hmm,
deal with growth or something like that?
I think that ENFJs need to realize that you can't make everyone happy, and
Mm,
uh, sometimes, like, you will piss people off sometimes, and that's not necessarily a bad sign that you did something wrong. It might actually mean that you did something right. And I've noticed in my life that when I do put myself out there, what happens is that it weeds out the people that don't work, and it makes people who do resonate with me like me even more,
right.
and makes them more loyal, so I don't have to, keep doing things to keep them interested or anything. So that's a big part of it, but also just like know that your vulnerability, your emotional vulnerability is a strength. And one thing on that is that I feel like being able to feel the broad spectrum of emotions means that um, it can kind of keep me light. Like I feel all of them. And so I'm not really bottling anything in, and I'm not really like numbing anything. And so it can allow me to be strong enough to, do things that maybe other people might be too emotional to do. And yes, we are emotional, but we can, because we're willing to feel, because we're real. I can't talk right now. Because we are willing to feel them, then that means that you can get into that mess and actually create some change. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a really cool message.
yeah.
That's like,
Thank
that's
you.
something that's actually is like, that's actually helpful for me too, that like
Mm.
you can't keep everyone happy, you know. It's like
Yeah.
it's something that a TI user that would also need to hear, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Anyway, awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. Have a good one.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All
Yeah.
right.
Bye.
Bye.